What's up, everybody? It's your boy Heems, and guys, we are back with another video. Today, guys, it is a cap on both episodes 6 and 7 of The Last of Us. But guys, before you go further, you already know what it is. Make sure you hit that like button for your boy. Don't forget to subscribe to your boy at Heemscast Gaming. Share the video, share the channel, raid, host, all are welcome and greatly appreciated. To anybody want to catch me stream, I stream Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, with late starts between 6:15, 6:30, and 7 p.m. Weekends are open schedule, so anything goes. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Trovo, and D Live. I stream on all 5 platforms at the exact same time. Reaction videos as well as reviews are as early as 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. with a minimum of 1 to 2 videos at a time to 5 or 6, give or take, depending on your boy's schedule. The grind is real out here for your boys, so we're typically working between 6 to 8 days a week, and the times may vary throughout the week depending on either switchovers, pickups, overtime. So I'll definitely try to update you guys day by day on Instagram, Twitter, Discord, Snapchat, and the YouTube community. But guys, let's take it in really quickly and talk about it, man. Episode 6 did something different for the series that the game could not express, or if it did, it was very subtle and it had subtle moments. It was parts where, if you remember in the beginning, you know, Joel and Ellie, they're like exploring, and at this point it's like winter time. This is past the point of Sam and Henry, and they stumble across this cabin. They pretty much hold the place, ransack it, and you see Ellie trying to participate, like, you know, holding them hostage, and the couple that they sat there and basically tried to take over and stuff, like, the way they did it, it was smooth, and I'm glad they didn't like kill the people that lived at that cabin. They actually did the whole map trick where it's like, you know, okay, you point this, you show this where it is, and if she says the same thing, then you know as if you guys are good, but if you're not, it's going to be a problem. You see Ellie, the inexperience that she has in that moment, in that situation, but it's like, it's a little bit of a slight sadisticness, if you will, with her in that, because like she was really excited, or like you can see her like get kind of pumped doing this, like she never done this before. So they get the location, then they're on their way. They run into this group of people who they get held captive, and at this point you see where like they send the dog out, which was cool because they actually get a chance to introduce a dog into the whole series, because you see that later on in the part 2 of the gameplay. And it goes to sniff Joel. Everything is fine. Joel's concerned that if that dog were to go and sniff Ellie, and mind you, at this point that group of people had held them all at gunpoint to check and see if they were cleared before they can get into the next area, i.e. where Tommy is, Joel's brother. And you see him kind of go through this like kind of a trance for a moment, and like he's closing his eyes, he's looking back, but then it shows where the dog is sniffing Ellie and everything is cool. He was thinking at one point in time the infection would have been smelt out or something would have went south. So Joel mentions his brother to the woman that's played Tommy's wife in there, and then after that it was kind of like a bit of subtle, because like, well, who are you, what's your name? But after he says his name, they ride them all in there. Joel gets a chance to meet his brother and reunite with him for the first time in a long time. Ellie separates. She goes out with Tommy's wife, gets, you know, the shower, the whole nine, and gets to explore the town. And what I like about it, even with the town, they did the town exactly down to the T for The Last of Us Part 2 of the game, because it literally had the whole display and everything. One thing with the series that I like how they captivated the background, the scenery, everything, to where you could pinpoint and check, and it's like, oh, this is where, and it kind of gave clues to, like, for example, you know, like when Tess was about to get killed, I'm like, oh, this is the museum scene, like, oh, I don't like, or, you know, it did a good job even showing like Jacksonville and showing, like, you know, the whole setup of what's to come. So they did a good job with that. Tommy's wife basically talks to Ellie and tries to tell her, like, well, how much do you know of Joel? And of course Ellie expresses her trust for him, and she in turn is basically like, as if, well, I think her name is like Elena or Mila. Guys, let me know. I butcher names a lot. And so she's basically like, well, okay, but just so you know. So then it cuts back to Tommy and Joel and their conversation. And of course, it's about getting Tommy to do the job for him. And that's the part in the show that, you know, was took a different route in a good way. It showed a side of Joel that a lot of people don't get to see. You basically just see this part of him where he's just like, you know, Mr. Tough guy. And well, the show even did that in every aspect, not just in his emotions, but just his health, his overall health, his movement. Because, you know, in a video game, you could sit here and do this stuff infinitely amount of times. You could run for hours and hours and hours unless they choose to add like some form of stamina fatigue or anything like that. So like Joel was like a freaking Terminator throughout the game, but here we get to see more of the human aspect of him, the human side, him complaining about his hands, his knees and stuff bothering him. And leading back to this episode, him basically still suffering from losing his daughter, and him even expressing the fear of going on and potentially losing Ellie. And you see it's like a tear-jerking moment where he's like, you know, just please, like, can you take this, or can you handle this? He was like, you know, my heart, because I saw him like a couple times like kind of clench his heart, and I'm like, so are they trying to like incorporate like more health problems for him? Like maybe he has some kind of cardiac diseases or cardiac disease, like where are they going with this? But it was more of like post-traumatic stress disorder that he is going through. And even just with the several those close corner situations, you know, where anything could have happened, even when they was being held at gunpoint, that all could have went south. And then yet that's pretty much the life of, you know, being in that post-apocalyptic world. That could be the end right there. There's no guarantee that they could have been taken in and everything would have been fine and dandy. So he expresses that. Ellie hears about it. They pretty much played the scene out perfectly down to the T, script and all, from the game to the series of, you know, Ellie's like, you know, well, you know, as if everybody in my life has died except for, you know, effing you, Joel, and pushes. I was like, they captivated, they caught that well and replicated that perfectly. And then at the end, where he's like, you're right, you're not my daughter, and then he just walks off. And I like though how they switched it, because minus to the game, if you remember, you do a little bit of dialogue with Tommy, then of course, you know, where they were at, or at the game, they was at the dam when all this had went down. Then of course there was a fight breakout. Then of course you go and you try to get to Ellie, and then at one point you mention something, and then Ellie takes off. But in here, she pretty much stayed in Jacksonville the whole time. And at one point in the scene, you see the door open after that little fight between Ellie and Joel, and Tommy walks in, and you can see the expression on her face. I guess she was hoping that, you know, Joel would have been that one to walk back in. But I like how they did the double feint, because when you go to the barn, Joel is there, and he's like, you know, mending the horse and doing all that, and he was saying something towards the effect of like, well, you know, hey, if you want to do this, and she just shoves the bag literally at Joel, like as if that's not even a question, that's not even an option. And you'd see Joel and Ellie ride off. They go to the college. They even do the thing where they show the monkeys and everything, the whole setup, and even him talking about singing, everything that was included in the game. Then they get to the lab, and then as soon as they get to the lab, they see, you know, that everybody is either gone. Then they're looking out. They see enemies out there, and then they basically try to escape out the back. They get out the back, but a few people, actually a couple of stranglers, happen to have caught him. He breaks out into a fight, and then literally at the end of the aftermath, after killing the guy, you know, he looks at Ellie. Ellie's looking at him like, and he looks down and he sees that he has the piece of stick in him, and he sat there and removes it, gets on top of the horse. He starts to pass out, and you see Ellie's like, you know, freaking out, like, come on, Joel, I need you. And that was the end of that episode. And with that, I think the only little small thing I thought of, or like I said, it was cosmetic, but I could get past it now, it's definitely forgivable, was just that the ending scene, because I wanted to see him go through the whole fight again of like, but then I guess like considering, you know, filming it and everything else and how that would have turned out, I don't know how the quality of that would have turned out from filming the action scene and then that fall and then actually the spike and CGI and all that, how that all was going to pan out. But they still did it in a way that it still worked itself out. So it's like, it's really just like that said cosmetic. It's like, oh well, that wasn't how it happened in the game, but they still managed to blend that in well. Episode 7, with which basically opens up to, Joel is in pain. He's basically trying to tell Ellie, like, as if, you need to, or if I'm not mistaken, that's still carried into episode 6, but going into 7, but as if like you need to go find Tommy. She's about to run away, but then she has a flashback, and it's about her back while she was still at the camp, before she had gotten bit, and Riley being there. And first of all, I like to put out there that the character that they put for Riley was really great. Looked dead on the character in the game. Personality, everything was on point. Ellie gets into her fight at the gym as she's training. She has her Walkman. Homage to them even showing the Walkman. Growing up and stuff, you had that Walkman, the CD player, all that. And so gets into a fight, gets into the office, and dude's basically breaking it down like, you're one of our top ones. I can see you being a leader. So he passes the keys down as if take your pick. What do you want to do? Do you want to go down this path or go down this path? She's like, give me the keys. He takes the keys. It cuts to her, going to her bedroom. She's about ready to go to sleep. They like lights out. So the lights go out. Then all of a sudden, Riley, before you know it's Riley, comes in and like smothers her, and she's fighting her. And then she realizes, like, what the F? What are you doing here? And so Riley has snuck away, and she basically explains, like, I want to show you something. And so they go out. They venture into the mall, even though they knew that it was infected. And they're literally cutting to like every little thing of going to the different stores, to the fashion store, to the lingerie store. And then at one point you can see where, like, Ellie, it's like they show more and more of her vibing with Riley more and more. And at one point in time, like they ride on the Ferris wheel, they turn everything on, they're having a good time. And rewinding it back just a little bit, when that part where she was ready to go to bed before Riley sneaks into her room, they kind of show the room and everything, and they show on the wall a poster of Mortal Kombat 2. Now that was before they snuck out together. Now going back to where they had snuck into the mall and everything, started exploring, checking everything. The next part was when they went to the arcade, and that was some nice homage. They actually let you see the Mortal Kombat 2, the arcade setup and everything. They're both having a good time. They're showing the fatality. You could clearly tell Riley been playing this. So she basically stuck it to the camp several times before all that. And as they're doing all that, it cuts to a scene of this one clicker that was attached to the wall. He wakes up. Then it pans back to them. And then after they sit there and they finish up the game, they cut to the part where she was like, I got another surprise for you. So she takes her to like the nacho or the taco stand, and literally Ellie notices all these grenades, and she's like, well, what are you doing with all of this? She was like, oh, so you were already stationed here. And like, whoa, what was you gonna do? Was you gonna kill everybody here? She's like, no, I wasn't gonna kill you. Like, I came here to see you. And she was like, well, I guess I'll walk off and we'll figure that out. And so she's like, you know what, if you walks off for a minute. And then it's like she has a moment where, tears run down her face. She goes back as she hears a scream, and she's running, and she goes into like this little Halloween scare place, and there Riley is on the ground, kind of in a fetal position, just kind of sitting down. And it was beautiful, because then at one point there was like, she was like, talking to her about the whole situation and wanting to belong somewhere. And by that person I mean Riley, because she felt like the jobs and stuff they had where they were originally, where Ellie is, it wasn't anything that was dignified or what she felt was her worth. And so she wanted to go somewhere where she felt like she belonged. Her mother, before her mother passed away, for however few moments she had, she even talked about the stores and things that existed prior, before the apocalypse. And then so she convinces her for the final gift. And so they go in there and they did the photo thing. They actually showed the photos. I love that part. It was beautiful. And then they go into this room, and then like they take the Walkman, pop on the music, they put on the iconic mask that they had in the game, and you see them kind of dancing. Ellie's kind of a little standoffish, couldn't really dance at first, but then after that she's starting to feel it. They rip off the mask, they have their little kiss scene, and then like after that, you know, that's when things go to crap. The zombie comes in, and literally I guess Riley didn't have enough training, but I wish they would have. It would have been so dope if they both would have survived that, but they're like shot. It didn't take them out, so it still ended up like tackling Ellie. Then, you know, Riley gets tackled by the zombie, and then after that, you know, Ellie goes in for the final blow with the knife. And, you know, she's all pumped, like, oh crap, we just sat there and did. And then and then they're like, that iconic look, like, and she's like, oh no, no, no. And then it cuts back to Riley, and Riley got her bite on her hand. And then you just see them sitting there, and they're like, you know, just going through it, like, oh, this wasn't supposed to happen. And then it's like, well, the way I see it, we either got two options. You know, we can either, you know, self-delete, or in some kind of poetic love kind of a way, you know, we just lose our minds together. I didn't cry on that part, by the way, you know. So, you know, yeah, but you know, it was cool. It was cool. It was cool. And then it cuts back to her down there with Joel, and as you know, Tommy, as she said, you know, around the time, and she had kind of ran to the door, and then that's when like she froze, and it played that whole flashback of her meeting Riley. But then cutting back to her now, back at that moment, she runs up to the kitchen, starts looking for anything that she could do to go ahead and stitch together the wound, and she does, and she's stitching it. And I think that moment even kind of symbolized, it was like, for her, she felt like with the situation with Riley, that, you know, she felt powerless. She felt like there was nothing she could do. When you see her with Sam, it's that same feeling, but it was like you could see like that sense of that urgency, that the need to like really try to do something or redeem for everybody that she lost. She really wanted to put that time and effort into actually helping Joel survive. And so we see that part where she attaches, which I'm assuming in the next episode is going to be about her getting the vaccine. But all in all, seriously, was a good episode. They did a good job with both 6 and 7. They had their little mix like with 6, but it all still played out better than expected. I like even the dynamic between that I forgot to mention, like between Tommy and Joel. It was some harsh things said, and it was similar to the game, but I like the fact that they were able to, you know, apologize to one another after. They was able to apologize to each other afterwards, because it was like right before Ellie and Joel's argument, leading up to Tommy basically going to get Ellie, and then from that point going to the horse. That's when, you know, Joel decides to join. But before all that, you know, when Joel was trying to convince Tommy to take care of Elle, it was a bit of a brief argument between them. It wasn't to the extreme of like how it was in the game, but it still panned out perfectly. And I like how they were able to apologize. I like how they was able to give Tommy's wife a chance to be a little bit more introduced compared to how they did it in the video game. And I think at the time she's even pregnant in the actual series compared to what you presumed, or even if they even show that in the game. And to get that whole exploration of, you know, Jacksonville was really beautiful. That was a nice touch. That was a nice feature. To sit here and then after that pan to the whole DLC. Honestly, this may sound a little bit more controversial, but I prefer the show's version of the DLC better than the DLC itself. As far as the game, like you just basically just a couple of cutscenes, you ran around, and it was like a couple of chases here and there, but the same amount of impact is like, you know, or the impact and dynamics between like Ellie and Joel, it pales in comparison to that. And yeah, granted, I get at that time too, it's like both of these characters, both Riley and Ellie, were far from experienced. Like everything that's happened to them up to the point of Ellie being around Joel, that it's been weeks, months, even a year or a couple of years or so, give or take, before all that had happened. The whole dynamic between like Riley and Ellie, even though you knew what was going to happen, you still rooted for them and you were hoping that things would have worked out. You know, that hope for each other, or even, you know, the whole romantic thing of like, you know, it's my last day, but like she said, and she even brought that up, like it was basically my last day, because she also noticed right by the nacho area and all that stuff, like that was where Riley's bed was, which I forgot to include, but basically she was posted out here. And that's when Ellie was like, you must have been out here to stake us. This isn't really about you meeting me, but Riley really wanted to see her before she gone to Boston, you know, for the last time. So she wound up planning this big old, it wasn't a tent at the time, but it ended up becoming like a romantic kind of a date, if you will. And yeah, it was just, wow, she just went through all that just to be with her or to see her for one last time. And then it's like, and the only thing I wish they would have included in that episode was just maybe, I don't know, maybe that would have been too much. It was already kind of tear jerking seeing it was tear jerking seeing that as is. I can only imagine how emotional that really would have been to have sat there and like, you know, they wake up or like Ellie's like, oh holy crap, oh holy F, it's morning, and then she just looks. But I still would have loved that to see like what Ellie would have done, and maybe it showed maybe that part of like Ellie that, you know, either was jaded, like maybe she had to take out her own best friend, or, but like I said, even if you didn't include that, by far it was all good. 100%. Both of these episodes, I give them a 10 out of 10. They really did their thing here. If anything, it's like you already got the cake, that's just the icing on it. So all in all, though, great show. One of the first few game adapted based shows that actually did everything for the most part right. Majority of the cosmetics that's in this is either just a certain way this happened, or even just the character itself with the different actors. But even saying that, all forgivable, and definitely recommended for you guys to check it out, and definitely looking forward to episode 8. But guys, what did you think of both the episodes? Did you like them? Did you enjoy them? If you did, please smash that like button for your boy. Don't forget to subscribe to your boy at Heemscast Gaming, and drop comments below and let me know exactly what you guys think and what are you looking forward to for the next few episodes. I'll see you guys soon with more content. To everybody out there, peace till the next video.